Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Mavericks, game 1. Shit, stupid ass bug. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Let's get this live stream going. Public right now. Okay. Tested, tested. 1, 2, 3. Put it on studio mode. All right. Make sure this is uploaded real quick. Let's go to my channel. Okay, we good to go. All right, what is good, everybody? This is your boy Aaron. Welcome to the live stream. Reacted to Game 3 of the Timberwolves versus Mavericks series. Now, as you see with the thumbnail, I have to say this. I was wrong. I was wrong about how this series was going to progress. I thought this was an even playing field. I thought these two teams were evenly matched. I was wrong. For all the people that said that the Timberwolves were made to just defeat the Nuggets, you were right. You were absolutely right. They cannot stop the Dallas Mavericks at all. They have no answer for Kyrie Irving. They have no answer for Luka Doncic. And that's the game right there. The fact that they kept changing their coverages, their pick and roll coverages. This last game, they were blitzing Luka and Kyrie off of the pick and roll. The previous games, they were playing drop coverage. They were hard hedging. And they still can't stop. There's still no answer. That just lets you know that regardless, they're just not equipped to stop these two players in the backcourt. They're amazing talents. Luka Doncic is one of the 5 best players in the NBA. He's been in the MVP discussion for the past 4 years. It's well deserved. I thought the series was going to go 7 games. I thought the Timberwolves had enough players to at least make it interesting. You know what I'm saying? Even if I was wrong, I thought that this would be a more competitive series. I thought the Timberwolves would at least get a couple of games off of them. But you got to salute your hat to the Mavericks. They're the smarter team. They're the more experienced team with Kyrie, with Luka. They've been here before. I've said it in previous podcasts. I said this is Luka's best supporting cast by far, because you have Kyrie Irving as his co-star. You have a bunch of guys that can defend, that can rebound. You have a lob threat in Derek Lively Jr. You also have Daniel Gafford come in as the backup big, who's also really well So he has a lot of pieces, a lot of good role players around him that fit the system. And Jason Kidd, he's done a remarkable job as the head coach. He's made the right adjustments. He's done a fantastic job defensively against Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns. You have to salute Jason Kidd for that, because when you look at Anthony Edwards, he has to work for every shot. And the simple fact that Chris Finch and Micah Nori have still not come up with a game plan to make it easier for Anthony Edwards to score, that's not Jason Kidd's fault. So, Jason, you know what Jason Kidd's going to do? He's going to continue to do the same old defensive game plan that he did from game 1 all the way to game 3, and it's working. Shrink the court. Make sure that Anthony Edwards doesn't have a free lane to the basket. If he wants to go one-on-one, by all means go one-on-one. But what you're not going to do is you're not going to get to the rim so easily and think you can just get an easy basket. You're going to have to work for every shot. Since they're not calling his number on plays, the only time you see Minnesota really calling plays is for other people besides Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, they pretty much have to work by themselves. They pretty much have to score their own number, because for whatever reason, Michael Nori and Chris Finch, they just don't feel the need to dial up a play for them. They just say, hey, go create your own. Don't worry about running a play for you. You create your own play. And it's just like, I don't understand that at all. It just makes no sense to me. And you're really making it easy for the Dallas defense to defend both of them when you don't dial up a play for your two co-stars. And so you just got to salute Jason Kidd. There's not much adjustments he really needs to make if Micah Nori and Chris Finch aren't going to make the adjustments for their two best players. And that's really the story of the series. The backcourt mates for the Dallas Mavericks dominating no matter what the Timberwolves threw at them. And on the other side of things, although the role players have been solid for the Timberwolves, the co-stars haven't shown up as well. And yeah, they're getting out-coached. The two best players on the Dallas Mavericks are outplaying the two best players on the Timberwolves. And that's that. That's really what it is. And you see the experience from one team and the inexperience from another team. Although the Dallas Mavericks haven't been to the NBA Finals, they've gone through some up and downs. They've been through a lot of tests. Luka, Jason Kidd, Kyrie Irving, etc. So they know what to expect. They know what it's like to be in the conference finals and a series away from the NBA Finals. And I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all. I like the Dallas Mavericks, and I knew that they were one of the best teams in the Western Conference. All these people saying the Lakers, no, they weren't in the same class as Dallas, as Denver, and Minnesota. And I thought that Dallas, even if Denver would have made it to the conference finals, I thought Dallas was going to give them a good competitive fight as well. So either two between Minnesota and Dallas, I'm all for it in the NBA Finals, because I think they both bring something to the table that's exciting, that's new, that's fresh, that we all need in the NBA Finals, and that is star power. It's the ability to just flash on your TV screen. I think Luka Doncic is one of the best players in the NBA. I think he would be great in the NBA Finals. Kyrie Irving as well. I think the storylines are there, and for them to be up 3-0, salute to them. I want to dive into what exactly went wrong with the Timberwolves and what exactly went right with the Dallas Mavericks. So, without further ado, let me see if I can find desktop transition. Okay. Matter of fact, let me go back to my camera real quick. I don't want to, you know what I mean? I don't want to show you guys the desktop too much. All right, let's see here. Okay, let's look at this box score. Let's see here. Let's go desktop. Let's go transition. All right, so let's look at this box score with the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Dallas Mavericks for Game 3. So, as we see here, Anthony Edwards, I thought hit the second half. I thought Anthony Edwards he played particularly well in the second half. The first half is where I was a bit concerned, but he stepped it up in the second half. So Karl-Anthony Towns, we're going to get to him a little bit later, but Karl-Anthony Towns was a complete no-show. Jaden McDaniels, he played particularly well. Mike Conley was outstanding this game. Rudy Gobert, he wasn't good at all. He wasn't good. Naz Reid, I thought he played particularly well in his minutes. Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Kyle Anderson. Nickeil Alexander-Walker didn't do much. Kyle Anderson, he was fantastic coming off the bench. So they had some contribution. When we look at the Mavericks side of things, you have Kyrie Irving with 33. You have Luka with 33 as well. They shot the ball amazing, like 10 for 20, 50% from the field from Luka. That's what you want from your best player. 5 for 11 from 3, 45% from 3. That's what you want from Luka Doncic. You go to Kyrie Irving, 12 for 20, 60% from the field, 3 for 6 from 3. I mean, 33 points each. It's going to be very hard to beat a team when their best players are both shooting the ball as efficiently as they are. And that's really the case. You look at PJ Washington, he stepped up. He was 5 for 10 from the field, 50%. Didn't shoot the 3 particularly well, but he still was able to shoot the ball at 50% and get you 16. Derrick Jones Jr., 3 for 4 from the field, 3 for 3 from 3. He was, for whatever reason, since the Timberwolves were continuously blitzing, Derrick Jones Jr. was always open in the corner, and he was able to knock him down in key moments too. Daniel Gafford, he was getting a lot of hustle plays. He was doing the thing. Derek Lively, he got injured in the middle of the game, but when he was available, he was active. He was really doing a lot of good stuff. Jaden Hardy, he doesn't normally get in the game, but his minutes, he was able to provide another score out there. Although it was 7 points, but in 11 minutes, that's still particularly well. I mean, 2 for 4 from the field. He was able to get some points, and he was able to get to the free throw line. So they had some contribution going on from everywhere. Guys doing the dirty work, playing good defense, scoring, shooting the 3 well. So let's look at the quarters. That's another thing. So Anthony Edwards, first quarter, I thought he was okay. I thought 9 points, 3 for 6 from the field. Jaden McDaniels, he was playing particularly well in the first quarter. Mike Conley was, if I would have to say after Anthony Edwards, he was probably the second best Timberwolves of the game because he was playing really good basketball when they called his number. And that first quarter, they were down, I forgot what was the score. They were down by 5 in the first quarter. So I thought, okay, although the Mavericks are hitting some shots, I was like, all right, I mean, it's still a 5-point game. And so we get to that second quarter. Well, before that, Luka, Kyrie, they were scoring in bunches. PJ Washington, he was doing this thing. Like, everybody was scoring for the most part in the first quarter for Dallas. We get to the second quarter. Anthony Edwards, he wasn't that effective. He was 1 for 5. Karl-Anthony Towns was 2 for 7. Like, second quarter rolls around and Dallas is starting to get it going. Their defense is really keying in, and they were just doing a really good job. They were hitting a lot of shots, and although Dallas was playing particularly well, it was still only an 8-point game going into halftime. So I was thinking, all right, although Dallas is shooting the ball particularly well and they look like they have the edge, it's still only an 8-point game. I feel like they should be up 15-20 by now. So we go into halftime, we go into third quarter, and this is where I looked at Minnesota and I said to myself, okay, They got a shot now. Why do I say that? Anthony Edwards, he has that amazing contact dunk, and that just sparks something. That sparks something from the team. It sparked something from Anthony Edwards. He had 10 points. He was 5 for 10 from the field. He was aggressive. He was trying his best to get a shot off, and he was doing it. He was playing really, really well. Karl Anthony Towns was 3 for 4 from the field. Jaden McDaniels, he hit 1 shot. Mike Conley, he was hitting some three-pointers. He was making some shots. Everything was going down for the Minnesota Timberwolves in that third quarter. And I believe they tied the game. At one point, they were leading the game by like 2, and then I think Dallas, they hit a shot at the end, and they tied the game. So they were in the game. In Game 3, they were doing everything well that you needed to in order to get back in the game. I mean, although Luka had 11 points in that third quarter and was 2 for 5 in the field, Kyrie had 5 points, PJ had 4. The Minnesota Timberwolves were outplaying the Dallas Mavericks in that third quarter. And the lineups that they had on the court was really working. Naz Reid on the court for 8 minutes. Nickeil Alexander-Walker on the court. Although he had 0 points, his shooting prowess, his presence really helped him. Rudy Gobert, But once we get to that fourth quarter, that's where everything started to change. I thought that once we got to about maybe 7-minute mark is where everything changed. I think once they subbed Rudy Gobert back into the game, and once they brought back Karl Anthony Towns, that's when everything changed. The minute Karl Anthony Towns came into the game and he shot that contested 3, I was just like, the game is over. Like, there's no coming back from this, because what Karl Anthony Towns was doing was egregious. He was chucking up so many bad shots. He was killing the momentum for the Timberwolves. I thought that the Timberwolves with Kyle Anderson and Naz Reid, I thought that lineup was working. Why would you go away from that lineup to bring back Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert? It just made no sense to me, because those 2 players helped bring back the Timberwolves from that deficit. And that's what blew me, because Kyle Anderson, he can run your offense. He was able to get to the lane. He had like 10 points. He had like 8 points in the fourth quarter. And all his minutes, he was playing well. He was 4 for 5 from the field. And so when you bring back Rudy Gobert, I thought that was a huge mistake. And Karl Anthony Towns, I think Chris Finch and Mike Inori made a huge mistake bringing those 2 back, because now when you look at the Mavericks side of things, they're looking at it from the perspective of, now we can go back to the regular defense that we have from first quarter and second quarter, because Karl Anthony Towns' shot is not falling. So we don't have to worry about him in the 3-point line, because we know that he's not shooting the ball well. He hasn't been shooting the ball well at all these entire playoffs. So let's just key in on Anthony Edwards, and that's that. And that's exactly what they did. Anthony Edwards, although he was 2 for 3, it was still difficult for him to try to get a shot off. He had to keep passing the ball off. He had to keep passing it off to somebody else, and that was the problem. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns was 0 for 4 from the field. He shot 3 attempts from the 3-point line. You're not going to win doing that. Mike Conley was the only dude who was really contributing for the Timberwolves after they subbed back in Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. I think that Mike Inori and Chris Finch, they made a huge mistake subbing in Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns when Naz Reid and Kyle Anderson were playing so well for them. Kyrie Irving had 14 points in the fourth quarter. Luka Doncic had 7 points. PJ Washington, he was hitting some shots. Daniel Gafford, he was getting some rebounds. It was just, again, it was a coaching mismatch, and they made a mistake. Let's see here. Let me go back to the main camera. So yeah, I mean, we saw the box score, we saw what happened, and this game boiled down to Carnthly Towns and his inability to, for whatever reason, act like a big man. You know, if your shot is not falling, why not ask for a post up? Why not get to the block and bully these dudes? But he didn't want to do it. Even with Derek Lively is gone. So that means all you have to worry about is Daniel Gafford in the paint. And he just decided, I wanted to be Dirk Nowitzki. I wanted to be Kevin Durant. When that's just not you. That's just not your game. You need to be on the block bullying these dudes. And for whatever reason, he just continuously makes the same mistake over and over again. And that's why the Timberwolves are potentially going to get swept, because Carnthly Towns just doesn't want to be a big. He wants to be a guard. And it's frustrating. If I was a Timberwolves fan, I would be frustrated. I hate to say it, but I think Carnthly Towns, I don't think the Timberwolves can win a championship with Carnthly Towns. I just can't. I just think he's not a number two on a championship team. The way that he plays the game, the way that he functions, if he's not going to play big, then you're a liability, because you're too streaky of a shooter to rely on. If he was Dirk Nowitzki, I would feel a different way, but he's not Dirk Nowitzki. His strength would be to go on the block and bully dudes. You're too big, you're too strong to just let the defense hang in. You should be bullying dudes in the paint, and that's not what he's doing. He's just chucking up a bunch of threes, and that's the problem. I want to show you guys real quick what mistakes I made when talking about this series. I want to go back. I want to refresh people's memory on my past takes, because I was completely wrong on this. This is not one of my proudest moments. I'll say that. So we're gonna watch a previous video of me talking about the Timberwolves versus Mavericks series before the series even started. So let's see here. What we got here? We're gonna go to last week's podcast. Hold on. Let's see.
Podcast NBA.
Gonna transition. Hold on. Desktop transition. Okay.
Conference final predictions just to Dallas Mavericks beating. I have the Boston Mavericks Wolves beating the Dallas Mavericks. I'll go in 7. I'll give it 7 games.
I was wrong right there. I was completely wrong right there.
I have the.
So let's skip to this part. Let me get to my explanation.
It just seems like they're destined to do something special, and I believe that this series against Dallas, I think Dallas it's just not your year, you know. It's the Timberwolves' year. It just seems like they're on a magical run right now, and I just believe they just have the athletes, they have the size, they have the speed, they have the depth, they have an amazing superstar in Anthony Edwards, they have the coaching, they have everything you would want for a championship team. They have the veteran leadership in Mike Conley. It's just everywhere you look, the Timberwolves just have what a team would want. And when I look at Dallas, I say to myself, I like Luka's game. I like Kyrie, but they're not two-way players. And Luka is dealing with an injury. They have Derek Lively, who's a really solid player, but he's a rookie, and he's not the tallest center in the world. PJ Washington is really good, but again, he's only one dude. He's only one really solid role player for them. So I just think at the end of the day, Timberwolves just have too many guys, and they're ultimately going to win because of that. And they're hungry, and they're once you get past the Denver Nuggets, I mean, who could really stop you? Like that was the top dog.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So a bunch of stuff we need to talk about. Number one, I was wrong. When I said that there's nobody that's gonna stand in their way, I was wrong. Like, it's clear as day. Mavericks, they were a real threat, and I mean, I put them. I said it's going 7, but boy, boy, I overrated the Timberwolves' depth. I underrated the Dallas Mavericks and just their ability to match up with the Timberwolves. I overrated Karl Anthony Towns. I thought that when I look at the bigs for Timberwolves, and I look at Gobert and I look at Towns, I'm expecting Towns to bully these dudes. I'm expecting Towns to go to work. But he wanted to be a guard this series. He didn't want to be a big. And that really played in the hands of the Mavericks. And I wasn't expect that. And I look at Rudy Gobert, and I've never seen a big with worse hands than Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is an offensive liability. We saw it in the game. There's that clip of him trying to post up against Luka in the beginning of the, I think, third quarter. And that's another thing. Who the hell thought it was a good idea to post up Rudy Gobert? That's not his game. And for Mike Honori and Chris Finch to think that was a smart play to do is mind-blowing to me. And I ain't going to hold you. I don't want Mike Honori as the coach anymore if he thinks that was a good idea to post up Rudy Gobert when we all know he has no offensive game at all. So that in itself was concerning. And if you're big and you can't play big, then you're a liability. And that's what Towns and that's what Rudy Gobert was this series. They were liabilities on the court, and it made it easier for the Dallas Mavericks to defend Anthony Edwards. It made it easier for the Dallas Mavericks to defend all the other players on the court, and that's why they lost. No adjustments made offensively, and the two bigs were not doing their job. Anthony Edwards had to work for every single point. It was never easy. He had a solid game, but in that fourth quarter, he wasn't able to produce at the end. He wasn't able to get it going. He had an amazing third quarter. He was making all the right reads. He had 26 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists. He was doing everything, but that fourth quarter rolls around, and you don't have an adjustment, and Karl Anthony Towns is chucking up shots, and Rudy Gobert is a liability on offense, and then you have them two dudes on the other end with Kyrie and with Luka. You have to go band for band with them. And when you can't go band for band with them, then you're going to lose. That's just the way it played out. And the Timberwolves, they couldn't go band for band with Kyrie and Luka. And you're going to lose every time. I believe this Dallas Mavericks team, I think they can win a championship. If they go to the finals, which more than time they will, I'm picking them to win the championship over Boston. I just think Luka and Kyrie's shot-making ability is just too much for any defense. And they showed itself against the Timberwolves, and they're going to show themselves against the Boston Celtics. And that's just the way it is. I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. Just wanted to give a reaction to Game 3 and acknowledge my mistakes. And I'll see you all on the next video. Check out the other segments from the podcast that I'll be posting, and also check out the full podcast.